Hello, and welcome to day 19 of Business English 2. In our last class, we were looking at the capitalization exercises and going over the answers to those. So we will just continue today from where we left off last week. So number 13 says, I eat kimchi every day, even on Christmas Day. So notice kimchi here is lowercase. It is not capitalized. Kimchi, as you can see here, is just a common noun. It does not need a capital letter. Okay? It's a common noun like most foods. Kimchi, pizza, steak, rice, potatoes, soup, salad. Those are all just common nouns. They do not get capital letters. I eat kimchi every day, even on Christmas Day. Christmas Day, of course, is a holiday, so if we use those two together, Christmas Day must be capitalized. We could simply write Christmas by itself without the word day. I eat kimchi every day, even on Christmas. That would also be correct. You don't have to say Christmas Day. Same would be for like Thanksgiving. We could say Thanksgiving or Thanksgiving Day. Easter or Easter Sunday. Usually we would say Easter Sunday because it is on a Sunday, always. You could say Easter Day, but it would sound more natural to say Easter Sunday. So certain holidays we don't need the word day included, but others we do, like Independence Day, Valentine's Day, Memorial Day, Labor Day. We would always include the word day with them. Like Thanksgiving, Christmas, it's not necessary. Okay, this is for the next one. This is from an image from the Korea Herald. That is the name of the newspaper. So, the best English language newspaper to read is the Korea Herald. So in this case, the is part of the title, so it must be capitalized. The Korea Herald, and notice we've got it in italics because it is a title. The same would be true for the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Daily Mail, a UK paper. Okay, if the word the is part of the title, it must be capitalized. Number 15. We went to Italy on vacation, and I studied Italian and learned how to make pizza. So, obviously, we is capitalized. We went to Italy, the country, of course, capitalized, on vacation, and I, capitalized, studied Italian, the language, is capitalized, and learned how to make pizza. Again, pizza, common noun, it is not capitalized. Now, what if we had this sentence? We went to Italy on vacation, and I learned Italian and learned how to make pizza. Can you learn a language when you go somewhere on vacation? Assuming a vacation is, a week, 2 weeks, maybe even a month. Would you learn a language in that amount of time? No, probably not. Could you learn how to make pizza? Basically, yes. You couldn't learn everything. There are many secrets and many techniques, many skills involved in making pizza. But you could take a class, a cooking class, and learn the basic skills. However, learning an entire language while you're on vacation would be practically impossible, unless it was a very long vacation. Okay? Now, if we did have this, if we say we learned Italian and learned, if there were two things that we did actually learn, you could actually combine those. You could say, I learned Italian and, instead of learned Italian and learned how, you could combine those and say, I learned Italian and how to make pizza. The verb here applies to both items here, learned Italian and learned how to make pizza. So this would be correct, but this really isn't the right word. So this is a better way to say it. We went to Italy on vacation, and I studied Italian and learned how to make pizza. Okay, number 16. I am studying business, so I am taking John Hall's class, Business English 2. Now, again, the word business here is a common noun. It is not capitalized. I'm studying business. The same would be true if you said science, engineering, mathematics, history, whatever, just an academic subject is not capitalized. Okay? So of course, I is capitalized in both cases. I am taking John Hall's class. First and last name, of course, must be capitalized. Business English 2. This is the actual course title, so names of courses are capitalized. Business English 2. Here, business is just a subject, so it is not capitalized. This is an actual course title, so it must be. Okay, for number 17, let's look at this ad here from Pizza Hut. They got a nice picture of some pepperoni pizza here, and we talk about they've got the information here on the medium pizzas, specialty pizzas, the toppings you can choose from, and the drinks. There are some errors on here, some mistakes on this slide. So pause the video for a moment and see if you can find the mistakes. Pause the video and see if you can find the mistakes. Okay, now you've either found them or you have given up. So let's take a look here. Notice here on the medium pizzas, the price for all of the medium pizzas is 0. Okay, which would be a great deal, but Pizza Hut would quickly go out of business if they did that. And also the drink prices for the regular and the large are both 0. So they had a little problem here on their website pricing. Now, let's take a closer look at this section, the product descriptions. And there's another small error in here I'd like you to see. Now notice here these specialty pizzas. They're the pepperoni lovers, meat lovers, veggie lovers, ultimate cheese lovers. Notice those all have this little R in a circle here. That means it's a registered trademark, okay? That means they have registered that name for their commercial use, and nobody else can use that. However, notice the word supreme does not have that, because supreme is just a normal word, and many pizza places have supreme pizzas. So they can't register that. They can't reserve that name for themselves. But these others, pepperoni lovers, every pizza place has pepperoni pizza, but they don't always have a pepperoni lovers, or they can't actually, because Pizza Hut has that. Meat lovers, veggie lovers, ultimate cheese lovers. Okay, other places have cheese pizza, but not an ultimate cheese lovers pizza. If we look at the toppings, we've got a whole bunch of them down here: pepperoni, Italian sausage, and so on. Notice down here, notice between all of these, they have a bullet point separating all of those. The bullet point, that's the little round circle here. It's not a period, it's larger than a period, and it's up in the middle area here, in the middle space. And notice they did the same thing up here. Normally in a list of items, for example, if I wanted to list all of these, I could use bullet points like this and list them, okay? And that's how it's normally used. But here, they're not used as a list. They're not at the left edge here. They're used as a separator. Okay, just to separate the items, to put a little space between them. They could have listed them with commas, but that's an awful lot of commas. It would just look, I think, really busy. I don't think it would look good. So it's just a formatting style to separate them, because some of them have two words, some are just one word, so they want to make sure that you know where to separate them. And then notice down here at the very bottom, the jalapenos, they've got the space before the bullet point, but they forgot the space after it. So the formatting looks a little bit different. So this is just something to keep in mind when you're formatting items, whether it's a Word document or a PowerPoint slide or something on a website. You want to be careful and be consistent that you have the correct formatting. Okay, just something to watch out for. All right, number 17 then. Sam, person's name, capital S, really enjoys eating Pizza Hut's salad. So Pizza Hut, of course, the company name is capitalized. Salad is just a common noun. Pizza Hut salad and pepperoni lovers pizza. And again, that is a registered trademark, so the pepperoni lovers pizza would be capitalized. 18 deals with Hyundai Department Store. Notice, again, Hyundai Department Store is the full name of the store. Okay? And so here, of course, they have it written in all capital letters. Just like you'll see the logo for Inha University, sometimes the logo written in all capital letters. But if we're writing this in a sentence, we don't need to do that. Okay? If we're writing it in a sentence, it just looks like this. My favorite department store is Hyundai Department Store. The name of the store must be capitalized. Notice, if you look over here, we cannot write just Hyundai Department. My favorite department store is Hyundai Department. Would be incorrect, because it's a department store. The noun here is store. Okay? Department is an adjective that means it's a store that has different departments. They have men's clothing, women's clothing, sporting goods, furniture, appliances, housewares. They have all of these different departments. That's what makes it a department store. So actually, department store is what we call a compound noun. Okay, but they must both be there. We can't just say Hyundai Department. That would be incorrect. That's why it's in red over here. We have to say Hyundai Department Store. Now, the first part of this, my favorite department store, this is not the name of a specific store. It's just a common noun here, department store. Okay? My favorite department store is Hyundai Department Store. Or you could even say my favorite store is Hyundai Department Store. You would not need to say department here. You could just say my favorite store. And that would include all kinds of stores. That would include department stores and furniture stores and clothing stores and grocery stores, supermarkets. But here, if you're only comparing department stores, then you're choosing among Hyundai Department Store, Galleria, Lotte Department Store. You're only looking at department stores. Okay? My favorite one is Hyundai Department Store. Number 19. You can see the ocean every day if you live in San Francisco, California. Which ocean specifically? You can see the Pacific Ocean. So, you, of course, the first word is capitalized. You can see the ocean every day. Ocean is a common noun. It is not capitalized. Just like ocean, river, sea, stream, lake, mountain, beach, those are common nouns. You can see the ocean every day if you live in San Francisco, California. San Francisco, of course, is the city name. It is 2 words. There's a space here. Both parts of it must be capitalized. San Francisco. Just like New York would be New York. It's 2 separate words. When we write a city and a state, we write the city, comma, state. San Francisco, California. Okay? Which ocean? Specifically, exactly which ocean? There's many oceans in the world. Which one? Oh, you can see the Pacific Ocean. Pacific Ocean is the name of the ocean, so Pacific and ocean must both be capitalized. Just like if you said Indian Ocean, Atlantic Ocean, the Arctic Sea, the Han River, the Yellow Sea, all of those are capitalized, both words. Both parts of those would be capitalized. Okay, now that we have finished the exercises, let us take a look at a real-life example. This is a picture from Suwon, you can tell, of a street sign. And take a minute and study this and see if there are any problems here, any mistakes. Again, if you want to, you can pause the video and look at it for a couple of minutes. Okay, let's take a look first at the top part here. Paul Dagu Health Center. There's only 3 words in English and they are all capitalized. Is that correct? Yes and no. They should all be capitalized, but there's a little bit of a problem here. Paul-Dagu, a gu, of course, is a division of a government or administrative area in Korea. So actually, the way we would write that is we would separate that with a dash. Paul-Dal dash gu. And the word gu is not capitalized. And this is how you would normally write it if you were doing any of the administrative divisions in Korea, whether it's like Gyeonggi-do, you'd write Gyeonggi-do, Suwon-shi with a lowercase s here. If you're writing a dong or I'm trying to think what some of the others are, like any of those divisions would be written in a lowercase, a dash, and then lowercase. Okay. If we look at the other part of the sign, Suwon City Jungang Library, of course, we need to capitalize Suwon and city here. Just like if we wrote New York City, we would capitalize New York City. Suwon City Jungang Library. Okay? Now, is that correct? The capitalization is correct, but what does Jungang mean? Jungang actually means central. So, if you're going to actually translate the sign into English, they didn't write Suwon-shi, they wrote Suwon City, because that's what this means. If you're actually going to translate the sign, then it would make more sense to translate the whole sign. Suwon City Central Library. Okay? And I see this a lot of times when I'm driving, especially, I've noticed it in Seoul. They'll have like Olympic daegyo. What's a daegyo? In English, that doesn't have any meaning. And then they'll actually write in parentheses, and usually they should have a space here, but they usually don't. You should have a space at least. Daegyo, of course, is bridge. So in English, we would just say Olympic bridge. But for some reason, they've decided to write it as Olympic Daikyo and then put BR period as an abbreviation for bridge after that. And actually, it took me a while to figure out what the BR was even supposed to be. It's like, oh, that's bridge. Okay. So if you're actually going to translate it into English, I would just write Olympic bridge. Why do they do it that way? I'm not sure. Maybe they want English speakers to be able to say what it sounds like in Korean in case they're asking somebody, oh, where's the Olympic bridge? They can say, where's Olympic Daikyo? Maybe. Or maybe it's just that's the standard way they decided to do it for whatever reason. Okay. All right. So this is what the completed sign would look like. Paul Dagu Health Center and Suwon City Central Library. Of course, the spacing is off a little bit here, but you get the idea. All right, let's look at a couple other examples here. This isn't exactly capitalization, but it's letter placement. Do you see any problems here? Of course, you can see here that the Y here and the Y here are in two different positions. Which one is correct? Well, you probably recognize that in the word family, the letter Y is actually correct. This little tail should come down below the base line here, the bottom line. Whereas in the word baby, so this is correct, but in the word baby, the Y is like floating up in space there. It's kind of flying, okay? The tail on the Y is actually raised up even with that line, and that does not look correct, okay? It's the Y is up too high, and this is the actual photo. What they should have done, though, is actually moved that Y down here. You can see I kind of cut and pasted that there. You can see the little shadow where I cut it from its original position and moved it down to the bottom. So if you have this base line here going across here, it would cut right through the bottom part here, and the tail hangs below the line, because that's where the lowercase letter goes, the letter position. Look at this sign from eMart. Do you see anything wrong here? With the food court and the sign directing you to the shopping carts. Again, on the right side here, where the shopping carts are, you notice that both the P's and the G are, again, floating up in space there. This bottom part of the P, or the bottom of the circle, and the bottom of the circle on the G here, should both be where this line is at the bottom. So both of those are incorrect. If we cut those out, move them to the bottom, this is what it should look like. Okay, so these are tails that should be down here below this base line. Okay, I don't know exactly what to call that, but that baseline, the line that you write on. And they know that. Here's a different sign from eMart where they know that a G has a tail that comes down below there. Obviously that's a different font, a different style, but still that tail comes down below the line. So we're going to look a little bit and do a little practice with what we call penmanship. Penmanship refers to the quality or the you could say the accuracy and the readability, or the legibility. If something is legible, you're able to read it. You're able to see and understand what somebody has written. If it's legible, it's neat enough and clear enough to read. The readability, the legibility of handwriting. And it would also deal with the correctness. Oop. Notice I spelled that incorrectly. So Microsoft Word put a little line underneath it. There we go. So it told me that I was incorrect. So we're going to look at penmanship a little bit, because penmanship does count, which means penmanship is important. It's a necessary skill. It's not taught a lot now, but it is something that's very important. If you are writing something by hand, you're writing a note or a letter, you're writing something on a whiteboard or a chart, a table, it's important for people to be able to read, to correctly read what you have written. You'll notice that especially in accounting, if you are writing numbers and formulas by hand, it's really, really important that those be neat and clear so other people can read them. So we're going to do a little practice with this. For example, if you're writing a business letter, you're writing a cover letter to go along with your resume, you're signing a business letter or some sort of contract, would you sign it like Kathy here? Now, Kathy has a very pretty signature, very beautiful letters, nice style, but notice she has this little heart above the eye. Would you want to put a heart in your name if you're signing a contract, a business letter? No. Now, if you're writing a letter to a friend, a note to your parents, just something informal, sure, that's fine. It doesn't matter. But for formal business communication, this does not look professional. We would say it looks unprofessional. Okay? So you would want to avoid that. If you look at these guys, who do they look like? What do they look like? What kind of people are they? From the way they're dressed, in the robes here and the hairstyle, the window in the back here, I would say that these guys are some sort of monks or priests, some sort of religious people. And this guy does not look very happy. He looks a little angry, a little upset here. Notice his eyes. He's not looking very happy. You can see there. Like his laser eyes looking down here. And this guy says, but I always dot my I's with little hearts. Just like Kathy did here. She dotted her I. Normally you put a dot above the I, but she used a little heart, just like this guy. I always dot my I's with little hearts. Now, what is he writing here? Well, they're monks, and he's got all of his ink and everything here. He's writing something important. The Bible, some sort of religious text, historical document, something very important. So again, just like Kathy would not sign a resume or a cover letter, a business letter with a little heart above her name, if you're writing something important, something sacred, you would not want to dot your I's with little hearts. Okay? Just like Kathy should not use this in business writing. So again, penmanship is important. It counts. It sends a message. It sends a signal. So it's really important. So we're going to do a little practice. Okay? Now this is called a penmanship drill sheet. A drill is practice. Just like if you play an instrument, you'll do drills, going up and down scales or practicing certain rhythms. If you're in the army, you'll do marching drills. If you do exercises, you might do certain like running drills in basketball or football or something. It's just like practicing something over and over in order to get good at it. Now, normally in a physical class, a face-to-face class, I would give you this as a handout. Of course, I can't do that today. I will send you this file. If you have a printer, you can print it out and write on that. If you don't have a printer, then you can just do it on regular paper. Just make sure that your paper has lines on it, okay? See on here, and this is a practice paper for doing this. They have, of course, the bottom line, the upper line, and a center line here, okay? If your paper doesn't have the center line, don't worry about it, but just in your mind, imagine that there's a mark there, a line going through the center, because that will be important, okay? And this says trace the shape of each letter. So if you're tracing it, you would actually write over the top of this. So you would follow the lines that are already there for the uppercase and the lowercase letter for each of these. Okay. And then it says, then write both the capital and the lowercase letter at least 3 times. Okay. And pay attention to the shape, the height, and the placement of each letter. So if you look at this, let's take a couple of minutes. If you look at the capital letters only, all of the capital letters fit very neatly between the upper and the lower line. Okay, all of them, the A, the B, C, D, E, they all fill that entire space. Okay, all of them. The only one that violates that just a little bit for the capital letters is the Q. You've got the circle with this little line on it. That line, that little line in the corner there, may come below the bottom line just a little bit. That's okay. Just a little bit is fine. Okay? But if we look at the lowercase letters, most of them, or a lot of them, only occupy the bottom half of this line, like the A. The B, the round part is below this, only fills half that space. The C, the capital C, goes all the way from the top to the bottom. The lowercase c is only half the space. And you'll see that even though they have the exact same shape, it's just half the size. You'll see that with the C. The O is exactly the same. S is the same way. U is basically the same. V, the W, the X. Y is slightly different, okay? And Z is exactly the same except only half the size. So be very careful with those that you don't have like a medium C, okay? Because then I can't tell if it's capitalized or lowercase, okay? So don't write one that ends about here. You want one that's either the full height or half the height. Now, ones or places where people have the most problem, the most difficulty with them, the letter F. Okay, the capital F is the 3 lines here. Okay, the lowercase f has to have this curve at the top. Okay, it has to have this little hook at the top, and then it comes down, and then that little line goes across the center. Okay, there is no tail down at the bottom here. It does not come below the line. The G is basically like a C, except you have to have this horizontal line here. Okay, you have to have the line going flat across the center here. It can come a little bit to the right. This one just goes in. It can go across a little bit. That's fine as well. The lowercase g, you've got the round part, and then the tail comes down and makes the hook. HI, for the capital I, let me scroll down here. I've got these. The font I used for these is actually pretty good. It's called Comic Sans. Comic, like you'd see in a comic strip, in a cartoon. It's a handwritten font, or it looks like handwriting. It's not good for business writing. It doesn't look professional, but if you want something that looks like handwriting, this one does. Okay, and this is a pretty good example. So, for example, if you look at the I here, for a capital I, you've got the vertical line and then the 2 short horizontal lines. The I is half the height there, and it's got the dot above it. J, it's like the I at the top, except it comes down and makes the little hook at the bottom here, and it also has a dot. Notice that these have a dot above them, not a dash, not a circle, not a little heart, just a dot. Only a dot. Okay? The K, the capital K, goes all the way from the top to the bottom, and then you've got the little legs here. The top one comes down to the center, and then the other one comes all the way to the bottom. For the little k, this part is the same, but notice the legs here start at the center, come over and down. So it's only half the height. Okay, L, M. The M here, you can do it this way, or this center part. You could bring that down only to the midway point here. That would also be okay. Alright. The N, the O, P, again has the tail. The Q has the tail, and it goes to the right. The tail on the J and the G curve to the left. This curves to the right. Or you'll notice here on this Q, it comes down and it's just straight down. That is also acceptable. That's okay. Alright. R, be careful on the R here that when you come down, you don't open it up. It doesn't spread out and look like a V. S, T, capital U. I'm going to change this a little bit, okay, and I can't really do it on here because this font doesn't show it. But on the capital U, let me see if I can get a font. Let me choose a different font for a moment. Okay, let me do this one. So the U here, put this little tail on it, okay. Put this little tail here on the right, because if you don't, it can easily be confused with the V. Okay, so it should be round, of course, and they have the little tail, and the lowercase u also has that little tail on the right. Okay, let me put that in the same font there. This Architect's Daughter is also another handwritten font I like to use sometimes. V, W, again the W, kind of like the M, you might only go halfway up. Let's see how she does. Yeah, you can do it kind of like this, where that doesn't go all the way to the top. It only comes like halfway down. Let's see how she does the M. The Architect's Daughter is like a woman's handwritten font. And again, that doesn't come all the way to the bottom. It only goes part way. Either way is okay, but this is pretty common. X, Y, the way they do the Y here, it's like 1, 2, 3 lines. This is probably more common to just do it in 1, 2 lines. Okay, instead of doing it in 3 separate lines, this is probably more common to do it like this. Or if we try this one again, okay, it's about the same. Okay, so I want you to write all 26 letters, uppercase and lowercase, and write them 3 times each. Whether you can print this out and do it, or you need to do it just on blank paper, I want you to write them out and then either scan it, or you can use a scanner on your phone, or take a really good picture of it with good light and send that to me on Kakao. Okay, make sure you put your name at the top and your 3-digit number so I know who you are. Okay, and then at the bottom here, with this little arrow, it says, write the following sentence. The quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dogs. The quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dogs. This is a special sentence because, do you know why it's a special sentence? It uses every letter of the alphabet. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z are all included in this sentence. So, just like this, the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. The dog is just standing there. Now here they do a slightly different version. They say the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. Jumps with an S, dog singular. My example, I have the quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog. So the S is here instead of here. Okay, but write that sentence. You've got plenty of space here to write that. Again, pay careful attention to the size, the shape, the placement of the letters. Be really careful, like the J, the Q, the G all have those tails. F does not have a tail. Okay, make sure on the U that you've got the short little tail on the right, on the uppercase and the lowercase. And it's a sentence, so at the end here, there is a period. It's hard to see on the slide here, but on the handout I'll send you, that's easier to see. Okay, so make sure you do that and send that to me. And let's take a look here before we finish. One more example here. This is a little picture and a short paragraph that was written by, looks like a young child, probably in elementary school. Take a look at this and see how many errors, how many mistakes you can find in this little paragraph and correct them. Okay, so I'll send you this also. Rewrite those sentences, rewrite this little paragraph, and correct any mistakes that you can find. And I will go over that. We'll look at that on our next class on Thursday. So have a good day, and I'll see you Thursday.